Help me. Somebody help me. Hello. Welcome to whatever this is going to be. I saw a video on YouTube. It was one of those like, this is the sign or whatever. That's what the title was. And so I was going to open this video like, hey, my name's Patrick. Welcome to Real Card. If you're looking for a sign, this is not your video. Look elsewhere. But, that's why I was like, why am I like this? That's why. Some things are wrong with me, but everything that's wrong with me makes me right. Girl, Earth Grip. Earth Grab. I told like this card has been coming up a lot lately at the cut with East. And it's funny because I pulled one card. I'm going to use the Lafruma, the Crow Tarot, and the Runic Tarot. And I'll tell you why in a second. But I pulled one card from each deck for me just to see whatever I would have to see to clear out, me from the whatever, the collective, whatever, right? And Wackened came out with Stankness. It was Stankness and Wackened. I ended up pulling two instead of one. This is Wackened. Well, if you hold it like that, well, okay, well, YouTube flips it. So, yeah, if I hold it like that, no, it is like that. That's Wackened on the end. Oof, I'm confused. That's Wackened on the end. So it's this East that's capped with a Wackened. Interesting. Hello, Sandra. Because your phone died and you fell asleep yesterday. I fell asleep to the same thing today. I found I know a few people have told me that I'm trying to I have my overhead light on today because I didn't feel like getting up to turn it off. I also have pure white screen in front of me, hoping that would balance things out. The telescope is still over there, by the way. It hasn't moved yet. Like I said, I need to correct it. I put it on upside down. Anyway, I did get some alcohol that I will probably be drinking. But yeah. I was watching movie reviews on YouTube, and it was horror movies last night, and I didn't want to have no nightmares or strange dreams. So I put on the chalk and then I went to sleep. I found that when I listen to myself, because other people have said I put him to sleep. I was like, yeah, pretty much. And for me personally, I don't have any weird dreams. I just like it to clear the space. You know what I mean? So anyway, thanks to me, you know what the white screen is? What? Now I'm confused. So when I say, ooh, oh, who is this? The Wheel of Fortune, I picked it up in reverse. We see the fixed signs. This is Saturn. No, the world is usually Saturn. But in this deck, the Wheel of Fortune is on. The Wheel of Fortune shows the four fixed signs. In the SKT, the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, the Wheel of Fortune is mutable signs. It's typically Jupiter. But because we see the four fixed signs, it's reading as Saturn. I know Jupiter moved into Aries, yesterday? The sun is officially in Capricorn. I got the notification that the sun was in Capricorn, and then a whole bunch of crows made some noise outside. I was like, okay, I don't know what that's about. Holly, hello. The cookiest crochet octopus hat today. I have this. Oh, I have my crochet octopus, crochet squid dice bag, and I was gonna wear it as a tiny hat. I tried to make a hat. I tried to crochet a hat. It is hard for me. I can't do the magic circle. like the thing to start it, and then you like just crochet like outside of it. I was struggling to do it. Um, I might go back to it and try. I was thinking about it because I think I still have yarn that matches my scarf, but it's something to pick up while I am in between work. It's interesting though that Saturn is moving into the space of the Wheel of Fortune. I mean, it's going to be entering Pisces in like March. Are Saturn and Neptune going to conjunct in Pisces? Or are they going to conjunct in Aries? Because Neptune is like late Pisces, but it's also like slow, slow. I don't know. I'm curious. Excuse me. Do I need context? Well, let's look at the bottom of the deck. The bottom of the deck is the lovers. So where did Jupiter go? If Saturn is the wheel of fortune now, maybe it's like a fixing of fortune. You know what I mean? So it's less. Well, it's the sun and the moon are in the same card here. It makes me think of the in the Wheel of Fortune in the Wild Unknown Tarot. The moon is at the top of the card, the sun is at the bottom. With this fixed wheel, both bodies are at the top of the card. I don't know. I'm just gonna get into the thing. So basically, I went to go pump some gas today. I was with my grandmother. I feel like I've been with my grandmother, honestly. And then she was like, "Oh, we should go to that new Chinese restaurant that just opened up." I mean, that's what I was doing. Oh my gosh, the Crow Tarot just won't stop talking. I can't even. I'm trying to like pre-shuffle the Emperor at the bottom of the deck. I'm trying to pre-shuffle before, like I already pre-shuffled. I'm trying to shuffle these more. The Magician comes out with the Seven of Cups, and it's interesting because the Crow is looking towards the Laurel Wreath. Laurel Wreath giving me that World card energy. Although in the World card, sometimes it's like a double wreath. And then there's the hearts. It's like the lovers and the world, but it was the Wheel of Fortune. It wasn't the world. Maybe that's why it's not a complete. It's like fairly closed though. And then there's the snake that was on the lovers card, but it's focusing on like the hearts and this rather than the mountain and the snake. With the seven, with the magician, I feel like I don't have, and the emperor at the bottom of the deck. I don't have the brain for this. I don't have the brain. I do too, and whenever, whenever she's taking forever in the store, and she's like, "What do you think about the high priestess at the cut? High priestess and the emperor, girl." Okay, um, you can keep talking, Crow, but I'll show the cards. Maybe it's for somebody who's listening. Um, I'm exercising my Anwala will for resistance. I do that all the time. That's not new. You know what I mean? I feel like my eye just started twitching. Stop! Stop it! Temperance and the Seven of Wands with the Two of Swords behind that. The Seven of Wands came out recently. I got a new way to think about the Seven of Wands, and then the Seven of Wands card came out, and then I totally forgot about it. Um, the Seven of Wands is after we had that achievement with the Six of Wands, we're riding that high. And then for one reason or another, we find ourselves in a position where we are in conflict again. But this time it's like, and a lot of times you see the Seven of Wands depicted, there's like we have the high ground or the character has the high ground, and then the wands are coming up from below because I guess we're riding that victory. But it was like, for some reason, it was just feeling like conflicts, confrontation, arguments, conversations that we don't even have to be a part of. You know what I mean? It's like someone trying to drag us into something and we can like, but it feels like such a futile conversation. Like there's no productive outcome because neither side is going to change their mind. Almost like trolling. The Seven of Wands is kind of like being trolled, and it's like, do you give into it, or do you just go about your day? You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, Temperance is here. Temperance is seven doubled. Oh, Seven of Wands for the Seven of Cups that we saw with the Magician. So this is a throwback to Libra season when it was like fire, temperance, water. Well, first it was fire, temperance, water, but then it was just like water temperance or fire temperance or air temperance. And I guess it's like we were just supposed to know what force it was balancing. Libra season was also like that's when it was like if you want more water from a situation, but water isn't getting you more water, maybe you'll get more water from fire because temperance is like an equal and opposite sort of energy. And that was like, maybe if you inject a little bit more passion, creativity, drive into your life, you'll find more like fulfillment or emotional connection. It's like if you want friends, Three of Cups, right? But you're struggling, like use fire. So maybe you start like like if there's like a book club or there's like a what do you call it, wine and canvas nights where you sip wine and you paint or whatever. Go engage your passions and then you'll find people with similar interests that you can have fun with. And then it was also like air and earth. If you want more money, maybe you come up with a new logistical way to budget, or you come up with a new idea, brainstorm, whatever. The element of air giving you earth. Interesting. I'm just trying to shuffle this deck until it stops. So I was out with my grandma, and she was like, "Put $20 in the tank." I'm using the Crow Tarot and the Runic Tarot. I'm going to pull before and after Judgment for the $20. $20 today got us 6.669 gallons of gas. So I'm going to look before and after rune number 66. And then I'm going to look before and after rune number 69. And then we're just going to see what's happening. And the Crow Tarot didn't say anything. So we're going to put that down and move on to the next deck. So the Runic Tarot can literally do the same. But as I was pre-shuffling the Sunstetta, the Solstice rune was at the bottom of the Lafruma. So I was like, oh, okay. So I'm going to do this. We're going to do this, right? Hello, David. How are you doing today? A penny a pound. LBS, laughing but serious. Is that Libra, laughing but serious? That's me sometimes. LBVS, laughing but very serious. The time is again. Ooh, excuse me. I feel like I'm talking fast again. Okay. Oh, Runic Tarot. Six of Cups with the Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I think I love this. The Three of Swords is behind the Knight of Wands. Don't love that. This makes me think of when Taurus got um Taurus got, was it the Four of Pentacles, the Conservator, and the Stronghold of the Flame. It was in the SKT Revelations when I used the Spirit Keeper's Tarot to read all the zodiacs, and I'm pretty sure Taurus was first. And it was that energy of like, if you know your why, if you're connected to your motives, it doesn't matter what you do, it's always going to work out for the purpose of that. And this is like, because of the child in this Six of Cups, it's like everything, it's like that's what the Knight of Wands desires now, to create a better life for the child or to have experiences with the family. And it's almost like this energy it's come up every now and then. And maybe it's reflected in the Magician with the Seven of Cups. It's that, again, it's like, as long as you're solid in the reason why you do everything, as long as your motivations are good, then it doesn't matter, because you know everything that you're doing is for a good purpose, is for a good reason, and so you don't have to necessarily worry as much. I feel like I'm not communicating this well at all, but it's like, so with the Magician you have to be careful, because the Magician has great power, but the Magician creates within a universe. And the universe, speaking of Libra, the universe has its own balancing forces. And so if the Magician exercises great power in a way that disturbs a balance, when the universe comes in and it corrects, or reaches an equilibrium, equilibrates, the Magician can experience almost like a tower as it all comes back into balance. But for the Magician that is in tune with those natural rhythms and cycles, it's like you don't have to worry about disrupting the balance, because everything you create is in balance. And that, if the whack end is what's capping the east, that's like, it goes back to the earth grip. That was literally earth grip. The things that the earth holds from us until we reach a space of maturity, because we're not the only people living on earth. We're not the only organisms. And people can be pretty selfish and not even sort of consider or think to consider how their actions affect others. Not only other people, but like the environment at large. And so it's like, if you give someone with no concept of anyone else full access to whatever everybody is saying we got access to, it can be not great. That's why it's like, you reach a space of maturity. And then it's like, okay, you're not going to severely harm the balance and equilibrium of everything to just promote yourself and do all this stuff that people have been doing for whatever. There's no limiter. Anyway, it's coming from a good place, the Knight of Wands. And it's like, it's still the Knight of Wands energy, though. You know what I mean? So it's still all about its desires. It's still all about passion. It's still all about a good time. But what that Knight of Wands defines as a good time is different than like a hedonistic, selfish, self absorbed, ego obsessed Knight of Wands. Anyway. So, are we going to get the 66 and 69 first? Sure. It was also interesting that it was like 6669, because it's almost like at a certain point, then it flips. 69 actually came out because I was like, this is the only number that's a mirror of itself. It contains a mirror of itself within itself, unless we count like 88. You know what I mean? Who knows? So I kind of want. I found just the black cherry Mike's Hard Lemonade rather than having to get the variety pack, and I kind of want to. We'll do it. I'll do it. Why not? Let's go. I was so excited when I saw these. Again, participate in whatever substances that are regulated by law according to the law and responsibly. The law is where you are. You know what I mean? Oh, this is because I don't have, excuse me, Odin's Whisper. I just looked at that picture earlier. Steph, you got your Lafruma. I was like, I didn't watch the whole video because I was setting up for the live, but you popped up and then I saw you got it. So I'm excited for you. I know you really wanted it. I'm glad you were included. But I was just looking at pictures from earlier this year. And I saw the picture of me with the Viking and then Odin's Whisper. It was like a blackberry currant mead or something like that. I need to now. Now I don't want to stop. Okay, it's just so good. This is my Oracle juice. Some people, whatever. I don't know what this is gonna be. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll give it one more shuffle. I'll cut it here. I want to look at them. I'll show you the bottom of the deck. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm not going to look at it. Ooh, first card out is Hod. Unseeing. Oh, that's kind of funny. I was like, I'm going to show you the bottom of the deck, but I'm not going to look at it. And then Hod Unseeing comes out. Now I'm already like, so do y'all know something that I don't know because I showed y'all the bottom of the deck? Is the bottom of the deck 66 or 69? Am I going to have to pull through this entire deck? Or is it number 20? And it's like I'm using another deck to find the 20. I'm using two other decks to find the 20 rather than pulling it from this one. Hod oh. Hod Lafruma in tier. This hooded elven light. And then we have a tier smelt. I was just thinking about tier because I was on Snapchat and every now and then it'll be like it was like 1,000-degree spike in fresh snow. And it was someone who took like it was a blacksmith thing where they like superheat metal and then they bend it, like they were braiding it and doing all kinds of stuff. And then they stuck a railroad spike in fresh snow and it just like went through the snow, of course, like you would expect. And when he pulled it out of the snow, it wasn't red hot anymore because it had been cooled. But that was the extent of the coolness of it. No problem, stuff. Yeah, that's my Oracle juice. For something as bright as Lafruma, you wouldn't think that it'd be unseen. But it's like, we do have like this pop of rainbow color right there. It's like right on the outside. So this is a cover that separates us from the Lafruma. But my thing with hot is like just because it's not seen doesn't mean that it can't be felt. We have more than one sense. And Tyr was a diplomat. There's a difference of 10 between the 27 and the 17. La Fruma is a 13. It's number 58. But the 10 was the Wheel of Fortune. But it was a Saturnian Wheel of Fortune rather than a Jupiterian Wheel of Fortune. If that is a factor in this, if that card is connected to the opening of this reading, that's why. Because Saturn is an energy that a lot of us actively avoid, and Jupiter is an energy that a lot of us actively seek. So, with the difference of 10 being Saturn or Saturnian energy rather than Jupiterian energy, that would be something that we, again, actively avoid. It would be something that we pass up. It would be something that we refuse, even though it's exactly what we need to get where we're going. That's why it remains unseen. That's why it remains hooded. I'm pulling these from the top of the deck, by the way, so I can't just see what card is next after that. And then we have Day Purged after that. Nonsense. I'm all about nonsense. And then Vindhorn, and then Needle. Day, Vindhorn, Needle. The room is 58. Yeah, this is 35. Okay. Again, it's like there's a part of this. Oops. Ooh, ah. It's the alcohol. I'm already dropping cards. See, this half of like Vindhorn came out on the day side of the day card. After it came out on the day side of the day card, we get the needle rune, but we see this flower blossoming almost in the night. I say in the night because it's a darker card compared to, Lafruma and Vindhorn. And Lafruma was super bright too. The second card is super bright. Hagal, Kalk, Hamfereld, Treadle. I'm supposed to be looking at numbers, not titles. Sorry. I already forgot. Feo, Swelgeness in reverse. Brahm in reverse. Ul, which is 68. East 11. Night 38. There was that Gutton, Gare, or Gare, Eigeshalmer, Vane, or Fane. I love saying Fane. I love pronouncing it as Fane. The thank you card. Your 28. Stankness 62. I'm pretty sure because I just saw Stankness. Mona 39. Feor 30. Yar. Yar. It's the spirit of truth. Troth. Wait, what? Is that supposed to be truth or troth? Sorry. I never saw it that way before. 33. Kane. Or Ken 64. Watkins 49. Applebear 13. You Kanafa 71. I haven't seen 66 or 69 yet. 18. Bjork. Earth Grap 29. Anwilla 43, Towardness 70, A 19, Sunstetta 37, Ophir 63, Os 4, Condal 44, 444, 14, 444, 14, Perth. Look how many cards I got left. I ain't seen either one of them yet. Yar! You did? Hello, Renee. How are you doing? Ripien 50, 16, Sigil, Ur number 2, Rasa 73. I guess I'm not even showing them. I'm basically showing all the cards now. Leaf Shade 48, 12, 66. I knew 12 was 66. Duh. I forgot, but I should have known. So it's going to be Leaf Shade 12 and Ganunga Gap. Oh, wow. Okay. It's almost like that immediately feels like going through a forest that you think will never end. And it's like those like huge fronds and ferns with the huge leaves. You pull back the huge, like you're pulling through leaves, going through the forest, and then you pull back one and you encounter the void, and you're like, oh. And for some reason, it makes sense that the forest is as lush and fertile as it is because it's as close to this void. It's like a geyser where like pure raw life force energy just like flows out. Candle 42, Ak 25, Flusa 67. I don't even remember who 69 was, but I remember seeing it. Neath or Nide Shadows number 10. This is the 10 in between the 27 and the 17. So what's in between unseen and smelting? What's in between Hod and Tyr as two mythological pantheonic Norse figures is the shadows. And I guess that's interesting because for all of Tyr's diplomacy did not save Hod. When Hod was like, I'm literally blind. Loki put this in my hand and told me to shoot. I was just trying to participate in the game like everybody else. It's not my fault that Balder ended up dying. I mean, it is, but it's Loki's fault. Where was justice for Hod? They was like, nope, you're gone too. We can't, even though it's a girl, play weird games, win weird prizes. Anyway, sorry. The Shadow. I just thought that it was ironic that the shadow is the thing that we can't breach to see that from anyway. Heartaker number 53. Hang True 75. Number 20, Man. Health is nope, 61. I was like, is this 69? Health is 61. Oh no. Leech. Lecha. Here it is. It's Whackin'. Whackin' is number 69. Okay. Goodness. So it's going to be the emotional bleed, Whackened, and Earth Mason. Earth Mason was in reverse. Number 60, but I'll pull it up right. Earth Mason being in reverse does fit the current narrative of Earth Grab holding on to something until we are responsible enough to receive it. That something being our birthright, being this earthly power. Earthly power just being the complete spectrum of what we have or what we're able to do, what we're capable of. But we're not always necessarily operating in full capacity because it's like, how many times have you been cut off in traffic, or how many times have someone upset you? And if what comes to your mind would instantly manifest, you don't always want that, right? So it does give us the freedom to like fully experience all of our emotions rather than at the slightest inconvenience, oop, now your magician power is manifesting disasters on an unprecedented scale because you've been minorly inconvenienced. So say thank you. Or don't. I'm not telling you what to do. You make your own choices. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Leaf Shade, 12th Kanungagat. Lucha Whacking Earth Mage. Now I'm curious what's at the bottom of the deck. I won't look at it yet. I won't look at it yet. We'll see. We'll see when it's all over. Now I'm gonna pull before and after judgment. Am I gonna separate these? Which one of these feels more crow? Which one of these feels more runic? Well, when I pulled the card from the crow before, it was the Four of Swords. And in the Four of Swords, the crow was asleep. So because of that, I'm gonna use the Crow Tarot's judgment for this whacking because it's to awaken. And the card from the runic tarot was the Queen of Cups. And she had a bind rune. Um, it was Elks and Day. So what Awaz and Dagaz. But you're supposed to read it as one rune and not a composite of its components. I'm like, girl, well, how am I supposed to do the? And it's the Queen of Cups, so she's like, well, use your intuition, die. I'm like, okay, well, I picked up the runic tarot, so I'm gonna give this one, two, three shuffles and a cut. This time I'm gonna pull from the bottom so I can just find the card. Bottom of the deck is the Knight of Cups with the bind rune that is. It can be Rod and Ken. It can be what Gitz and Lagu. That's the bind rune. It's the Knight of Cups. It's the Knight of Horns. The only horn of note I know is Gallarhorn, but also mead was drunken. They would drink the mead from horns, right? Was Lafruma at the bottom? Lafruma was like the second card that came out. So if Lafruma managed to go from the bottom to the second card, I don't know what happened. I'm looking for judgment. So the bottom three cards: the Knight of Cups, the Queen of Wands, and Strength. Strength came out recently as look at this. I don't even think I noticed that on here before. You see on the bear, we have that rune. Girl, I forget. I already forget what the name of that rune is. But that's a part. There you go. That's a part of the bind rune. But it's missing the X. It's missing that unseen 10. It felt like, because the only horn I know is Gallarhorn, and Gallarhorn is what you blow, Heimdall blows to signal the beginning of Ragnarok. But it felt like this Knight of Cups is like stolen the horn and rode off with it so that Ragnarok never begins. And last time I saw this strength card, it was a similar energy. Like, it's like this is a berserker, she's a berserker. And usually the berserkers invoke the power of an animal and then they go crazy. But she's not in combat. And with this Queen of Wands, it makes me think of the Knight of Cups, or it makes me think of the Knight of Wands with that Six of Cups. There's something else that her passions and desires have aligned to. And again, this is Earth Masion, right? Because it's like when we're in that selfishness and when we are that short sighted, maybe it's a good thing that we're not instantly manifesting whatever. But it's like her passions and desires have been aligned to something else that is not a very conquest. It's not like a conquesty, I want what I want and I don't care who has to suffer in order for me to get it type of energy. She's not that like self absorbed. You know what I mean? So interesting. We found a new way to go about things, a new way that's not going to lead to all of the destruction. Excuse me, that comes with that um, Ragnarok before. Number 20 is also Ing. Ing is like two gifts stacked on top of each other. Oh, look at, whoa, this is 10, 9, 11. XXIIX. I'm like, okay. Oh, is that East? That is East. East on the Hermit. Oh, are you going to be at the top of the deck? Here it is. We have the Two of Swords, Judgment. Oh, it's Ing. It's on here. Ing and the Gununga Gap is also on here. And the 10 of Rods, which is our Elks and our Treadle. Treadle was what, the third card that came out or something like that? These are the three cards around the 24: the Emotional Bleed, Awaken, Originate, and Thy Earthly Power. And as I was just talking about the Berserker who invokes the powers of that animal to like win wars, here's the Tear. That was the third rune, and the Unseen Lafrumalite. And then there's East. The East that came out with Wacken. Which is interesting, because if this is a Berserker, then the animal guide would be the animal that the Berserker connects to draw that power. So this almost feels like it's like the Berserker trying to invoke that animal and it not responding. I mean, that's one way to read it. It feels like this is her, because again, with that strength card, it's not about utilizing, it's like it's not about forcing anything. Because when you force something, that is when it has to be re-equilibrated. It has to be rebalanced when you force it. And then it's Judgment. We see the Valkyrie coming for the worthy soul with the Ing rune on top of her head, but it's like shining out the void at the person. All right, see you later, Steph. And then, because the magician was with that Seven of Cups, right? I don't know if this is like a dark magician energy, because the magician in this Ten of Wands is looking a little twisted. I mean, he's in the shadows and he's got like this red eye. Girl, like that's low key Odin in disguise. Like, you ain't fooling nobody at this point. Ultimately, though, yeah, I didn't expect this. Under that is the Nine of Swords. Is that Edberston? Wait, is that Hyde or is that it's a mixture of Hyde and Edberston. At the last rune, if it had a line on top of it, it would be Edberston. If it were only the two lines, there wasn't that corner in it, it would be Hyde. And the King of Wands is on the other side with the Queen of Swords. Okay. I think this is the reason why this is the reason why Earth Mason came out in reverse. If wands are rods are magic, and this whole thing, or at least a part of this, is there are capabilities that we have as children of the divine, yes, that live in this world created by the divine, yes. But because we're children, we're not necessarily given access to all of it. Just from the jump, right? It's like you wouldn't give a child something dangerous because they don't know how dangerous it is. They might think it's like a toy or a game, or there's no real concept of consequence at that point. But there are eight, 8 different these things. There are 8 of these. There are 9 realms total. So I feel like this is an energy of like the things that we do have direct consequences on every other realm. Like he's pressing and it's like it's splintering the ice, it's forcing something. It affects a lot more than we think it does. Like there's this one realm, there's this one thing that we want to fix or adjust that we have in mind. But again, because of our short sightedness, we don't see how that affects everything else. I think that's why in this Two of Swords, the animal that's connected to the Berserker is saying no. This Ten of Wands is trying to force something anyway. So yeah, it's going to disturb the balance, and then there's going to be a greater energy that then has to come in and correct things. And these are sitting on opposite ends of judgment. With the Nine of Swords at the bottom of the deck, and this Ace of Wands behind the Nine of Swords, it's like, yeah, hey Ariel, you could have missed this one. I mean, maybe the second part will be gorgeous. Who knows? Maybe this is just like this is the reason why earthly power was on freeze for a long time, because people in general were not evolved enough, we're not selfless enough, we're not aware enough or considerate enough of their surroundings and other people in the world that it would have been misused to make things even worse than they are now. But it's like it's an acknowledgement of all of the things that we've gone through. And it's like, yes, I know you've experienced this pain. Yes, I know you've experienced this loss. But still, that, like, it's almost like that's even the more reason to not give you this. Because that's another thing that we as people, that's another thing that it can be easy for us as people to do is whenever we go through hurt, whenever we go through pain, we seek, for some reason, to inflict that same pain on other people. It's like rather than resolving the issue, we just want to flip our role in that dynamic. Now we want to be the aggressor. Now we want to be the oppressor rather than the recipient of that. But again, in that wheel of fortune that we're not seeing, that's connecting, like that's basically eclipsing the elven light at this point, I guess. Like again, in the wild unknown, it's like it's the moon up top and the sun at the bottom, but in the crow tarot, both the moon and the sun are right there. So yeah, Earth Mason is going back in reverse. Now, this Valkyrie is offering, she's coming to this, the warrior on the battlefield, and giving them the Ganunga Gap. The Ganunga Gap is this here. So that is all people in general, not necessarily you, because the Valkyrie has seen the one that is worthy of opening up access to the void, right? So now, hopefully, things are going to get a lot better. Like, that's the reason why earthly powers were shut down in the first place, because they were misused, like, left and right in every kind of ways. And people just aren't considerate or compassionate or outside of themselves enough to even consider the world at large. You know, it's like, I'm going to get what I need first, and then I'll worry about everybody else. But if the entire world has to suffer in order for you to get what you want in the way that you're going about getting it, it is like at some point there should be something within the person that's like, is it worth it? If all of these people have to suffer, is it worth it? Some people don't care. Some people be like, yeah, it is. What have those people ever done for me? You know? I was like, okay, girl. All right. There's only one Lafruma card, Renee. I didn't look at the bottom of the deck. I still haven't looked at the bottom of the deck. I can't tell you. Maybe I shuffled it. I don't think I did. I feel like I went like, here's the bottom. I'm gonna pull from the top, and it came out second. I don't know. Whew. How are you doing, Ariel? Did I ask you? That's why. Okay, so that explains this leaf shade energy. Because leaf shade was like you're going through this incredibly dense forest, thinking that it never ends, and then you pull out this one leaf and you find the entire void behind it through this 12th frequency. You breach that stagnant, static energy. That's why Stankness. Did Stankness come out? No, I just saw Stankness. Okay. So now we're going to give this the Knight of Swords. So we're going to see every night today, aren't we? The Knight of Swords came out on top of this Judgment card. It fell out on top of it. Interesting. Of course, this immediately makes me think of the Taurus Lafruma reading. Don't go waving that sword around. That one got a little heaty. It was a little chili peppery at one point. But it's because the sword isn't being used here. And that was the whole purpose. It was like, don't go hacking through the forest if that's not your path. Like, the forest will clear around you, and you would notice that if you stop swinging the sword. Now you're correlating. I swing the sword, I make further progress. Like that's your correlation. That's what your brain is saying is working because that's what you're doing. But if you stop swinging the sword and you keep moving forward, you would notice that the path still like opens. It would correct that misconception. It's not the sword that's clearing the path, girl. But as long as you're swinging it, you won't see it. Anyway, Nine of Pentacles, Six of Wands, and the Empress. Look at this. Sun and the Nine of Pentacles. Ooh, oh gosh, I keep throwing cards on the floor. Oh no, now my mouse fell off the table. Oh. Whew, now it's in reverse. Oh, look. It's the animal guide. And it's at peace. Again, don't go waving that sword around. It's because the knight isn't using the sword. This is where the animal guide is. Anyway, you see the sun up here, right? Now in the Six of Wands, we see our same crow. This feels like our crow. The crow in this one, that's another whacking. That's a horse animal guide and our crow. We see the wolf animal guide and our crow. Now our crow has achieved some kind of completion in the sun. That's the same. And we see this crow looking up. That's the same, in fairly the same direction, I think. But that's the same laurel wreath from the Seven of Cups that came out with the Magician. And then we end up with this Empress. And we see in the sun, there's like this white heart in the cup or whatever. The Ten of Cups is after that. So this 10 ain't unseen. Anyway, we're looking for 20. It's going to be ing in both of these decks. XX, because they use Roman numerals instead of, oh, death, judgment, and the Wheel of Fortune. This is, again, the one that's seen. So, yeah, the Valkyrie found the right one on the battlefield. That's why the void is being revealed to this one, because it's not all that weird. And again, it's like when we go through life, I think like we don't even necessarily see all of the ways that we can be like a danger not only to other people but to ourselves. I think that's how sometimes we can work so hard for things that we think we desire, but then when we get it, we feel no fulfillment. When we get it, the chasm within us is still there because it wasn't facing the root issue. That's why like everybody and their mama and their mama's best friend and their best friend is on this healing, awakening, looking for a new vibration type of journey. And that dissatisfaction with life, with certain aspects of life, is a lot more prevalent and apparent now than it was before. There's quite a few things that people just ain't putting up with no more. So it's only 2:20 in the sun. Well, I guess up there y'all get what, 24 hours of darkness at winter. Or if you get close enough to the Arctic Circle, and then 24 hours of light. Everybody's grumpy. Bottom of the deck is the Ace of Wands. Look at this Ace of Wands compared to this one. It's that higher perspective. It's those heightened senses. It's the one that's not so consumed by its tragedy and misfortune and by its difficulties. Because in being consumed by it again, for some reason, we as people tend to recreate instead of resolving. And that's what keeps things sort of like happening. And sometimes we recreate without even being fully aware of it. It's all majors here. It was minors before, but that's what minor high priestess and the two of swords. The ten of wands. I don't even know what minor that is. I haven't found a major uh, correspondence with it. Ace of wands, king of cups, ace of cups. So ace of wands or ace of cups, king of cups. Oh, that's the thing. The cup that was in the sun right here on the empress. That's that ace of cups that the king of cups has found. Cute. Love that. But again, we have that fire and water. And that's another difference between the crow and the runic. And the runic is fire and air. Fire and air is a very harmonious combination of elements. So if you have a fire problem, air isn't going to help you solve it. Air is kind of going to make things worse. There's no counterbalance. There's no reasoning, or there's no ability to reason. It's almost like the difference helps us reason. Like there's this side, and then like being able to see both sides of a situation helps us to reach a more fair outcome rather than just being completely on like one side. You know what I mean? And again, when we live in echo chambers, that's what makes it easier to like definitely do the thing that we shouldn't do, number one, but to again not even be exposed to how that affects literally anybody else. So on the leaf shade and Ganunga Gap side, again, it's death, judgment, the wheel of fortune. Death and judgment is interesting because I mean we have the Valkyrie here. Valkyries don't necessarily go to the living, you know. Death came out for somebody. I feel like it was Libra, but it might not have been because it was the Four of Swords and then there was the Death card. It could have been Scorpio. I don't remember. This combination of cards is interesting though, because the resurrection takes place in the Death card. The resurrection happens before we reach judgment. And because the resurrection happens before we reach judgment, it feels like that's what changes the cycles in the Wheel of Fortune. This is an energy that resolves the cycle and then experiences new rather than perpetuating the same cycle. That's the thing that we can't see between Hod and Tyr. It's like we don't even know, or we can't even see the things that need to be changed in order to get us to where we want to go. And so we kind of sort of fumble around and we do the thing that we think we need to heal. And then it's like we do it and we see if our life changes. But again, it's like that Saturnian Jupiterian difference. I think a lot of times we're aware. of what we need to do. We're just hesitant or afraid or not willing to do it. So we find the easier things to heal. We find the easier fears to face. We find the easier people to make up with rather than like going to the root. Sometimes we don't see it. But in all of that resolution, when it still persists, then it's like, okay, well, something still needs to be resolved here. Or we're just like, well, I've done everything that I can, and this is a crock of hooey because none of it worked. And it's like, okay, but did you do the one thing that you know you need to do? It was like, no. But doing that, resolving that, again, it feels like that's what gives us this higher perspective when it comes to the Ace of Wands. That's when we're granted access to the void of potential. That's when we come into our earthly power to make our dreams, our desires come true. That's when we receive, because it's like, and maybe it's just like there are things that need to be done before other things can be received, right? It's like the easiest one. It's like if you want a baby grand piano, you have to have room for a baby grand piano. So even if you are delivered a baby grand piano, it won't make it into your home if you don't have room for it. So step one, make the room. Then step two, receive. Or make one, or step one, make the room. Step, who knows what, receive the baby grand piano. But it's like we try to skip steps, and that's what doesn't work. Because again, it feels like there are these unseen connections between everything. Nothing necessarily exists in isolation. Everything comes with something. And if we're not willing to see one thing, we're not willing to see. It's like if we're not willing to see one thing, we're not able to see how that one thing affects and impacts other things. Not fully. So yeah, it is the emotional bleed that keeps the earthly power in reverse. I would have hoped that that part was a little more beautiful, so I didn't go for what was obvious. But then the cards came out, and it's like, okay, well, that's pretty obvious. But again, with this judgment card here, it feels like that. It's like that being withheld is people overall, people in general, or the history of humanity because of how we've behaved through history, because of how we've continued to behave throughout history for the last recordable period in certain parts of the world that spread influence, that continue to maintain influence in a lot of ways. But that's not necessarily the viewer of this reading, because again, the void is being offered. The first card that came out was 12th, the 66. You unfurl the leaf. You've been progressing through the forest, and then the void is revealed to you. The cards say you went through a rebirth and resurrection before the judgment call. So now that the judgment call is being made, your verdict is forward movement. Your consequence is progress rather than it being a sentence or rather than it being a repeat. You know what I mean? So, congratulations. I wish I would have just stopped there because, like, what's all this? Maybe this is just a reminder that as we go forward to continue to be aware of that, because I think sometimes we do face roadblocks, we face challenges in spaces where we didn't necessarily think that there would be. It's just like consider the fact that it's for good reason. So maybe you want to change your approach, number one, or maybe you want to check on your internal and see what's motivating you to go about things first of all, to go about things, period, and then to see how you're going about achieving the things that you desire. Sometimes it is the case of like you don't actually want the thing that you think you want, there's something better for you. And if you would check in with your truest desire outside of Nine of Swords from a space of pain motivation, you would see that this other alternative that's being offered still gets you what you want. Maybe in a more direct way, maybe in a cleaner way, maybe in a way that doesn't involve as much detour. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we have choice. And that choice is honored. And I guess you can't necessarily choose to be a tyrannical whatever. Not all of us can make the choice to be a tyrannical whatever and have the universe co-sign it, and then that's what we end up. But if there's more for you, then like, you know. So yeah, ultimately it feels gorgeous. But again, ultimately it's like maybe try not to force things too much. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just watched a holiday. It wasn't even a holiday movie. It was just a movie that I thought could have been a holiday movie on Netflix. But there was a keyboard and then there was a baby grand piano. So that's it. I guess that's what solstice is here to stay. He is here to stay. And again, for some reason, Capricorn energy is feeling like the beginning of the year. Capricorn feels like spring for some reason. This is probably why it's feeling like spring. Because again, it feels like the closer you get to this void, the more lush and the more dense the forest becomes. And it's like it's a wellspring of pure ether, pure life force energy. And again, like that is our divine birthright. We're created by the creator with a piece of the creator in us, or we're created in the image of the creator. We're created as creators, but we're created within the creation. Oh, so this is okay. The bottom of the deck is the title card. So that's why it says La Fruma. Mystery solves. There you go. So here's the actual La Fruma. That it's the rune. It's like the patron rune of the deck, I guess, in a way. But then there's the title card that says like La Fruma Healing Oracle deck and all of the contributors. So there you go. That explains it. I was like, I didn't even think that that could have been the case. It didn't even come to me. It's the title card. Is that Ing? It is Ing. So the bottom three cards, it's the title card, Wickercraft, and Ing. Ing is that double X. Ing is the 20. Ing is the judgment. Ing is what the Valkyrie sort of comes under. And then here's the leaf. Leaf, Ing, Wickercraft title card. Hey, sissy, how you doing? I was like, this is a lot of cards left on the table. It's every card that I just had. Interesting. And I was at the gas station. I was putting gas in the car so that we could go. I guess we're going right through the heart of that. I don't know why. I don't know. Capricorn just feels like the beginning of the year. And then I was thinking about because I saw a 2023 Chinese Lunar New Year video pop up. And I know it happens on the full moon in Aquarius, but if it follows more of a Vedic calendar, that would be a new moon Aquarius. Sorry, not full moon. That would be like a new moon in Capricorn, I think. It would be a new moon in Capricorn. It's like, okay. I know we say it's Aries for whatever reason, because the spring, but even in life, the conception happens before the birth, but to each their own. We do what works for us, and what is for us to get us where we're going. Right. If my methodology don't work for you, don't take it. Don't force it. There are plenty out there. And then there's yours that you will discover in time, I guess. Ing is a card that came out. This is our final rune, and of course, why would it not be? This is Ignite the Water Meadow, the poem of Ing. Ing is number 22. Son of the sea, Freyr's fertility forces fauna from the soil soul. Sunshine saturates the sacral as purified rain rolls to the roots of all life. The soaked, saturated seeds split. The first thread of germination plunges down so the wild water meadow flowers can sprout, shoot, and bloom with the soul's new tune. Ignite the song of your water phoenix. I love that rose to the roots of all life. The roots of all life, given that like Gananga Gap energy, where it's just like it's just where it comes from. There's a spot of concentrated, raw, pure life force that leaks into our physical reality. And that's what makes this area so dense, you know. And so too, it's almost like, if you go hacking away at the forest, then bro, you're like cutting at that life force. I don't know. Anyway, we're people. It's fine. Not you though, not you. You are the one who moves the leaf, who passes through that energy, and is who comes into a symbiotic, favorable, copacetic relationship with it. What's that word? It's not copacetic. It might be copacetic. It's another word. I can't remember it though. So anyway. Excuse me. Bottom of the deck is Leaf Unfurl, number 47. Blueprinted planned buds poke from slender twigs, signaling growth. Known purpose, new dew-drenched beads swell and tremble, assembling and unfolding, superseding winter's icy grief. A fresh unfurling spring, tender green leaf. Like all the other awakening leaves, each is precious and essential to the wholeness of the Yggdrasil tree. Love that uh, superseding winter's icy grief. Again, as I'm talking about, I smell food. It smells good. I don't know. It feels like it's an energy of spring, even though if you live in the eastern or northeastern, like north central to eastern part of the U.S. and Canada, it's like record snow is possible, but the energy felt like spring. I don't know. Also, when I was on my chalk, I lost my little burlap sack. I thought I put it in my pocket. Maybe I dropped it. I don't know. I came home. I had the cards in my pocket the whole time. I went to Walmart. I went to Starbucks. And then I got home to put them in the bag, and there was no bag. So I still have my pouch, but, the bag is gone. The rune said, "We will not be Feo held anymore." There's more space in this, even though they kind of still are, Anyway. What's that smell? It smells like almost maybe like spaghetti, but not the saucy part of the spaghetti, not the noodles in the sauce. You know what I mean? I don't know what that is. Hello, happy solstice to you, sissy. But Capricorn is also Saturn, so Saturn sitting in the Wheel of Fortune. Who knew? I mean, Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. So if we're going into an age of Aquarius, we're going into an age of Saturn. And Saturn, when the Titans were ruling, that was like the golden age, girl. It was good until the Olympian gods came in and all of their just as petty as people, but with more power than people ways, kind of like wreaked a whole bunch of havoc because they could, because they were higher than, better than others. And it's at some point, I guess it never occurs to some people that, if you are in a position of power, maybe you should be like great or at least semi decent to people. Maybe you should not make their lives miserable, but sometimes we conflate status with I can do whatever to whoever is beneath me, right? One person has a bad day at work, they come home and torture another person, that person tortures another person, then someone gets the kid, and then the kid gets the dog. And it's like, why? Especially in the home, like those are people that you supposedly love and care about. Anyway, we're in a space of change. We're having conversations that we haven't had at least in a hot minute. And it's leading, it can be controversial for some people. The moon. Bottom of the deck is that Four of Swords. Sleeping under moonlight. See, the moon in this Four of Swords, it feels like there's something that we would perceive as absent, but it feels like it's still observing. It's still notice. It's still witness. It's almost like it can be, since I'm talking about what I'm talking about. What's done and behind closed doors, or what's done in darkness, just because I don't see or don't nobody else see, don't mean that nobody know. Because if nothing else, the universal witness within you knows. The piece of the creator that you hold within you is right there. You know what I mean? And then we all have a piece. So it's this network that, we all can tune into, tap into. There is no privacy and oneness. Anyway, I think besides that, what else could this be? I'm gonna pull. Oop, not this card. King of Pentacles. The only knight we didn't see was the Knight of Pentacles, and that's because that knight is already the king. I mean, that does fit. Like the Knight of Pentacles would be the only one. If one of the knights became king, it would be the Knight of Pentacles. So Knight of Pentacles is already there. To be fair, though, we've also seen the King and Queen of Wands, the King of Cups. We haven't seen the King or Queen of no, the Queen of Swords was behind the Ace of Wands. I'm pretty sure, rather than the Nine of Swords. King of Pentacles in the Moon. It's just like, again, what's done in darkness is seen. But when we do, I think a lot of times we hear that, we always think it's like something negative or whatever, and it can be. But there are a lot of amazing things. There are a lot of great things that are done in darkness that people don't tweet about. They don't post on their social media. There's a lot of good in the world that we're not always privy to, which is why we're still here. We're not so terrible that we've already just been completely wiped from the face of the earth. So there is still hope for us. We can be redeemed, but we redeem ourselves. Because even with the sacrifices that people make, ultimately at the end of the day, we still have choice. you know and for every action there is a consequence, there is a reaction, and we can't necessarily negate the consequences of each other's actions. And if we can, I don't know if it's unlimited. Anyway, this is the great stuff that's coming. It feels like this is also an energy of abundance that we're able to tap into, that we don't necessarily see, but we're made aware of the steps to get there. And it could be coming in, right? It could be happening right now. You could have been observed, you could have been witnessed as you've been doing those not bad things, as you've been doing those great things, as you've been doing those amazing things, thinking that no one has seen or witnessed or watched because your external circumstance hadn't changed yet. It's like, I'm a good person, like, why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. I deserve better than this. It's like, yeah, you do. I'm trying to put the wrong cards. I was like, why aren't these fitting? Because this is the wrong deck. And you're about to see that it was witnessed. So when this was Libra too, but this was Libra like a long time ago. I feel like this was like February 2020 Libra, where Libra energy was like, you've done something. When it comes in, take it. If you've been doing amazing things, if you've been working on yourself and healing under the cover of the night, when the fruits of your labors come, when your rewards come, when the wheel of fortune spins in that amazing direction, don't psych yourself off thinking that you don't deserve it or that you haven't earned it, because you do. If you didn't, you wouldn't be getting it. If you didn't, you wouldn't be getting it. This is about you. It's not about what everybody else get, because you could be like, well, Johnny most definitely didn't deserve it and he's got a new Ferrari. It's like, oh, well, that's Johnny's life, okay? Are you Johnny? Is that your Ferrari? No, worry about yourself. Anyway, it's like, you've put in the work for this. Don't psych yourself out. Don't convince yourself that you don't deserve it or that you haven't worked hard enough for it. Take it. And that even plays into like this Libran energy, where it's like, if you want more water, be more fire. Or like, there's this interplay between the elements. It's not always exactly the opposite. But it's like, we've been doing that. We've been stacking the scales. Now that the judgment call is happening, it's like, okay, it's the end of the year, time for your review. Saturn has gone direct. I mean, Saturn went direct a minute ago. Jupiter moved into Aries. That's a transit. Jupiter moved into Aries. Sun moved into Capricorn. Transit. I don't know. It feels like spring. It feels like a time for things to be dispersed. Like, you did it to get this. So take it, please. Or don't. It's your life. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's not my job to tell you what to do. I can provide a different perspective sometimes. I can look into energy sometimes. It benefits nobody for me to tell you what to do, because it's at the end of the day, if I have to tell you to do something in order for you to do it, it makes it easy for you to know. It's like, am I going to have to tell you everything? Anytime you come upon a decision or a crossroads, am I going to have to tell you? Because you best believe Patrick is going to be out living his life. Okay. Oh my gosh, the moon again. The moon fell from both cards, or from both decks. The moon falls out. I've been seeing the number 18 a lot lately. And 6669 is an 18. Three sixes is an 18. And that makes a 9. And then a 9 and a 9 is an 18. I guess technically it would be like 27. But if we Cindy math it, three sixes is a Cindy math 18. Two nines is a Cindy math 18. We get two moon cards. See, this, I feel like this one, it speaks more of the internal battle. That's what this deck was already talking about. The internal struggle. All right, we'll say battle. Because battle doesn't, conversation. The internal conversation between our pain and the other parts of ourselves. And it feels like this is a test internally, because this is like our darkness fighting off against our light. And when they clash, it's like shadows erupt in between them. But see, that's our birthright. That's the earth Masion. That's what earth grab holds from us until we emerge victorious from this. And until then, it's else protected, it's withheld. It's protected so that we are protected in a way, as much as we can be. Because once we make a transgression, once we choose, once we make a choice or decision, once we take an action, we are open to the consequence of that action because that was our choice to do it. Sometimes we can experience leniency. Sometimes mercy will shield us from the full brunt of the repercussions of our actions. But then it become that one person in class in high school where it's like, you're not supposed to be on your phone in class. And one day the teacher is like, give me your phone. Or go in the hall, or here's a detention because you're not supposed to be on your phone in class. And if your response is, well, like, I be on my phone all those other times and you ain't never say nothing to me, so what changed today? It's like, okay, thank you for acknowledging that you were knowingly in the wrong, but now that consequence has come for you, what is that supposed to change? you know and we get away with it for so long. We get more bold, we get more crazy, the crimes become more infamous or whatever, because we're getting away with it. It's a slippery slope. People don't stop, which is, again, it's a good thing that we don't just instantly manifest every time everything. It's a good thing that some things are withheld. Oh. Oh, okay. Well, there's also this Beauty and the Beast rose under these two. The bottom of the deck is the Nine of Shields. Y'all remember the girl in the Strength card, the Berserker, who was like, I'm not going to fight. We're going to make peace and we're going to move forward in the energy of peace. Everything within me is resolved. I've made peace with my past. I will not turn around and be the one that does the exact same thing to other people. I'm not interested in reversing my role in this polarity. I want something new entirely. And sometimes people think when they're on the other side, that's something new, and it's like, it's not. You're just playing the opposite. You're playing your opposite role this time. It's the same dynamic, it's the same scenario, it's the same situation. But now that you're winning, now that you're on top, you can choose to not see it. It's just not. I'm like, oof, the polar bear is a rug now. And we see like this decapitated polar bear or whatever back here, like sitting on a polar bear throne with a polar bear rug, barefoot. I'm like, what happened? What happened? Oof. Girl, I don't know. What's interesting about this shield card rather than other shield cards I've noticed is every single shield is decorated, every single shield is different. And then there's the Homer shield. Where is it? Yeah, that one. That we usually see that has like all the runes and stuff on the side. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there at her foot. I don't think the glare will. There you go. Oh, here it is right here. You can see it. You see this card right here. See all the basic shields? It's the Eight of Shields. I feel like this doesn't help me clarify anything at all. Because, like, the thing I don't like, because so far, the prevailing story has been it's time for us to be separate enough from the pain and trauma of our past that we come into the space of being able to receive what's really for us. We are not our past, we're not our pain, we're not our trauma. We deserve much, much, much more than that if that's been our experience. But when that's all we know, It causes us to guard and shield ourselves in ways that makes us forceful when we know we should be soft. It limits our ability to be vulnerable. It affects our ability to be vulnerable. For some people, they remain vulnerable. Some people may become even more vulnerable when they, because not everybody becomes their aggressor, right? It just seems that the vast majority of people do. But it might seem that way because the other people don't. You don't know what someone's been through unless they tell you a lot of times. So the numbers could be artificially inflated for one versus the other because the people who do reach that resolution and move on, the people who do break the cycle and go for something else, they're different. So there would be no reason to, you know what I mean? But anyway, but in that two of swords, it was like the animal that they're connected to is not doing what they want. And so it soured that person and led them to, and that 10 of wands, that not great magician looking energy, the one who would force things regardless of who it impacts and affects. If we're following that line, she got rid of that animal. And anything that would come to her that would try to deter her from that, she got rid of. Because her comfort, her stability, what she deserves in life was more important to her. And that Eight of Pentacles just goes to verify, like, it just like it continues and continues and continues. That's the one who grows or waxes worse and worse and worse. And again, the moon card here is just simply the battle in between. Yeah, the Four of Shields. It's the one who is consumed by their hurt and by their pain. There is no room for compassion. Wow, these two decks couldn't be any more different today. But again, maybe that's the past of humanity. It doesn't have to be where we are now. That's why it can be as difficult for us to engage those things that are naturally ours as creations of the creator, created to be creators within the creation. Did you follow that? We're naturally gifted, granted those things. But when it starts to, but like we don't live in a vacuum. So, like, we share this creation. And so, because we share it, there are certain things that we don't necessarily have the same like rights to if we were the sole existence within that creation. So anyway, either way you get your pet back. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's true, I guess. So with that, I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope that again, I guess I hope you the perspective. And I hope you the comfort amidst your pain. Um, and I don't think that every people are too complicated to be broadly categorized as bad or good. But I guess I hope you enough clarity to ask yourself what you really want and how you really want to go about getting it. Because I think there are some people who do what they have to do because they don't know of any other way. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you don't know of any other way, how can you really be judged? Because that's all you know. So I hope you a different knowing so that you don't have to do that. To just have like a cleaner energy. You know what I mean? To not always be running from something. And even if you tell yourself you're running to something, sometimes we can tell ourselves that we're running towards something, but in reality, we're still running away. Sometimes we are genuinely running towards something. You know what I mean? Ultimately, at the end of the day, we know, depending on how, how much we want to know or whether or not we accept that truth, we know at the end of the day. I just hope you something truly gorgeous and truly beautiful. You know what I mean? So you ain't even got to worry about. And if you want to be like, oh my gosh, I remember when like this was my experience, or I remember when like this was difficult, and I'm so glad I'm out of that, preferably. I'm so glad that's not my experience anymore. It's because of that now I can appreciate what I have. It was because of that now I can see that there are ways of being that truly don't resonate with me. Like that was never me. It's just who I thought I had to be. It's how I thought the world works. It's the only thing I knew to do. And I'm glad I know more now. I wish that for you, you know, because then, you'll see and realize that, yes, you do actually have choice. Because there may be times and moments where you can choose to do it the way that you would have in the past. But now that you know differently, not better, now that you know different, you can make a choice to do something different. So, thank you all for being here. This is not exactly what I was expecting, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I don't know. And I don't know if it is because like there's a spring energy when we're coming into winter, and it can be super, 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 super easy to compare. Number one, it can be super, super, super easy to compare. It's like, well, this person's getting that and that person's doing whatever. It looks like spirit's handing out all the blessings, but I feel like I'm in the same energy I was in before. Don't compare again. Like your path is your path. Your destination is your destination. Comparison only serves to rob us of our own joy. Or the opposite. It's like when all of those gorgeous, beautiful, amazing things start happening to you, it's so that you can accept it or receive it or allow it rather than spiraling down all the ways that you don't deserve or all of the ways that you can't maintain. And then you end up sort of like psyching yourself out of what is rightfully gorgeously yours. So, and with that, whoo girl, I'm like, was that even necessary though? Maybe I didn't have to read it, Maybe I could have seen it and just been like, you know what? I'm not going to read what's happening between the emotional bleed. I'm not going to read the twisted warp magician energy because of forcing things. I'm just going to focus on the Ganunga gap, and I'm going to read the beautiful half of this energy. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, I wouldn't do that because, again, it helps us make informed choices and decisions. It's like I could do this, but it will negatively impact a lot of people. And it's like, okay, especially like if you believe in the divine, girl, it's like, would the divine put you on a path to decimate the planet in order for you to get what you want, or to hurt other people in order for you to get what you want? It's a question. Your answer is your answer. And I think that goes back to that's why the title card for me is Live Life and Find Out. That's why I think the high priestess can be perceived as like secretive sometimes. It's because of gaps in our own understanding. Because I was told this Like, this is the only way that my brain can think about reaching that destination. So this must be my path. And it's like, hold up. Because if you observe, if you scan your surroundings, you might see another way to get there that's not as drastic. You ain't gotta kill the king, Hamlet. That ain't even Hamlet, it's Macbeth. You ain't gotta kill the king to be the new whatever. I mean, if you do, you will, sure. But look where it'll lead you at the end of everything. You know what I mean? But anyway. Whoop! My bottle just fell on the floor. Luckily, it didn't shatter. I'll catch y'all next time. Bye. Happy solstice. Happy Capricorn season. Sagittarius season was. By the end of Sagittarius season, it feels like Sagittarius. And so now Capricorn is like. It feels like Sagittarius. It feels like Scorpio was cleaning up the area. Sagittarius was excavating. Capricorn is going to be building the foundation or building upon the foundation if Sagittarius built the foundation as a part of that excavation. I don't know. You know, it's going to feel like different things to a lot of us, I'm sure. So, bye.